Hello and welcome to News9 Facebook Live with me, Adarsh Vepachedu, once again. And the Chinese PLA is trying out every trick in its book to deter the Indian armed forces amidst a standoff between the two nations. In the latest, the Chinese army in forward locations in Ladakh is resorting to playing Punjabi songs on loudspeakers to somehow try and distract the Indian soldiers who are positioned at a height overlooking their positions at Finger 4. So what seems to be the motive of the People's Liberation Army? How are the Indian armed forces dealing with this? And whether history is in a sense repeating itself when it comes to PLA's latest tactics? To answer some of these questions, we have with us retired Air Marshal B.K. Murli joining us live on the broadcast. Many thanks, sir, for speaking to us. My first question, please tell our viewers as to what the PLA is really up to and what they intend by playing Punjabi songs and warnings over loudspeakers.
Good evening, Adarsh. Near the Finger 4 area, the Chinese PLA has resorted to playing Punjabi songs and then, giving warning to our soldiers who are occupying, important heights. That look, we understand your language, number one. Number two, we are not worried about your build-up, and then we are not really threatened by your presence whatsoever. And then there is a need for you to vacate this area and get back and hand over this area to us. And then they are actually they are trivializing the whole situation.
Correct.
And giving scant regard to the efforts of the Indian Army. And then when there is a face-off between the two armies, almost at a finger range, that's about 300 meters face to face. Chinese tactics, it's very strange. But then, they use similar tactics in 1962 near the Rezangla. In fact, actually, a veteran who is still alive, probably he's a nanogenarian who actually saw action at Rezangla, recalls that they were playing Bollywood songs in 1962. And then they were making similar overtures actually to distract the enemy's attention. But I'm sure, now over a period of time since 1962, the Indian forces are much more focused and they really...
In fact, Marshal, I was just coming to that because we're talking about these warnings like these heights are dangerous. You're only sitting here because of the fancies of your leader in Delhi. Such messages are being played out. So I want to know from you, while you were just coming to that, as to how well conditioned is the Indian army to deal with such kind of messaging from the Chinese army?
Others, this is all tactics of the psychological warfare which China is playing on us. But then they must also realize that we also have a Psy warfare division at New Delhi. And then every soldier is actually fully trained in psychological warfare. And then information warfare. These days, it is not really necessary to, extract a win over the enemy by firing bullets or by demolishing him. In fact, all this is from the Chinese side. In fact, if I can quote Sun Tzu, who is actually the Chinese warrior from the 6th century, in his book Art of War, he says, the trick is to actually subdue the enemy without causing any damage to him through firearms. So it is their own theory that you do not cause any damage to your enemy through firing, but make sure that he is subdued through various means. So psychological and information warfare are a part of such tactics. And then Chinese think that it is possible to play psychological warfare on us and then score a win. But then, they have actually got a surprise coming. And then Indian soldiers, as not only the regular infantry battalions, including the Vikas regiment, are fully trained in the psychological warfare, and they are not the people, to lift up their head and listen to the Punjabi music and start dancing in the ridge line of South Pangong Lake. They have actually been. Now we have learned that the commanders at the ground level have passed on instructions to our troops that you enjoy the music, but only thing is make sure that you don't show it.
Okay, okay. So enjoy the music. So we're going to dance, but not the way the PLA wants us to. But again, switching
Absolutely.
focus a little bit, just a few hours ago, you had the Raksha Mantri, Rajnath Singh, in a strong worded statement in the parliament. He had said that the China's words and actions are worlds apart. They're very, very different. Keeping that in mind, what do you think should be India's next move, both militarily and more importantly, strategically, diplomatically?
Others, we must actually ponder over some of the developments that have happened in the last about 48 hours. In fact, this gives a clue as to what is on the anvil and what is yet to come. Okay. Now, Raksha Mantri spoke, about the situation in the Eastern Ladakh, and then he made a couple of points which are extremely important. He said that China has occupied 38,000 square kilometers of our area. He was referring to Aksai Chin.
Yes.
He said Pakistan is illegally acceded to China the Sakshkam Valley, which is close to about 3,500 square kilometers. In fact, in his talk, he indicated this area belongs to us, and they have this. China has snatched this area from us in 1962. That is the first point. The second thing is, leave aside this Eastern Ladakh imbroglio. Now there is a serious move by the Chinese PLA to enter Arunachal Pradesh,
yes.
1,100 kilometers of our border with China through multiple points, which they did exactly like in 1962. In fact, some of the points like Namcho, and then the Apsala, and then the Fishtail 2, and the Anjan area, that is actually in the east, west, and the middle area. That is upper Subansri and then upper Siang district. China is now trying to build up their presence within 20 kilometers of the LAC, and they are doing exactly the same kind of overtures which they did in 1962. So, and this they have done after the external affairs ministers talk in Moscow on the sidelines of SCO. And so you can you can gauge the Chinese mentality from this. In fact, their game plan is very clear. It's irrespective of who speaks to who, whether it is the Raksha Mantri or whether it is the Eastern External Affairs Minister or whether it is a talk between the corps commanders. They will do what they have been told to do, and what they have been told to do is actually to subdue the Indian army and then make a point to the citizens of that country, saying that look, we are the greatest in the world and India is nowhere. See, a part of the psychological warfare, Adarsh, you must have noticed, are the statements coming out in the Global Times. Global Times has issued about half a dozen statements. Actually, Global Times is the mouthpiece of Chinese Communist Party. It says that India is no match. Our J-20 Chengdu stealth fighter is actually can take on Su-30 and shoot down Rafales. And then we are technologically, economically, and militarily stronger than India. And India is no match. India's economy is in tatters, and we can take on India any time of our place and choosing. So this is the kind of a statement that is coming out of the Global Times. So this is all a part of the psychological warfare.
Empty threats, if we were to call them, Marshal. Empty threats, and it almost seems as though the PLA has now become a band of jokers. I mean, come on, Punjabi music, Punjabi songs, warnings in Hindi across the LAC. But yes, the Indian Army is well conditioned to not really respond to the PLA, not get deterred by the kind of tactics that the Chinese PLA is employing at this point in time. The bottom line really is the Indian Army is not going to dance to PLA's tunes. I'm sure, Marshal, you'll agree on that.
Yeah, in fact, the Chinese antics are in a vein, and then trivializing such a serious situation, such a serious standoff between the two armies there. Actually, Adarsh, I want to make a point before I sign off.
Please do.
Some time ago, when all this problem started off at the Galwan Valley, we were actually talking about a local calibrated response to the aggressive postures of PLA.
Okay.
Now look at the calibrated response. Look at that. A calibrated response is 50,000 troops from our side, 50,000 troops from their side. 750 aircraft on the Chinese side positioned in 6 airfields of Tibet. We have got about 150. Then innumerable mechanized infantry vehicles, the armor, then the long-range howitzers and the drones on either side, and then the attack helicopters. This is the localized, if this is the calibrated, localized response, others, I'm telling you, this is nothing short of a full-scale war.
Okay, okay. But one only hopes that things do not come down to that. Many thanks, Air Marshal, for joining us and for shedding light on what really is transpiring at the LAC. We were just talking about how the PLA has resorted to their PSYOPS. They are now playing Punjabi music and warnings in the local language to somehow demoralize the Indian forces. But yes, as I just mentioned, the Indian Army in no way will dance to the tunes of the PLA. With that, it's a wrap on this brief interaction. If you've liked the information that we've shared with you this evening, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to News 9 on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Many thanks for joining us.